The fog was rolling in from the bay as it did every evening in San Francisco, wrapping the Victorian houses of the Richmond district in its familiar gray embrace. Inside the pale yellow house on 38th Avenue, 22-year-old Maya Chin sat across from her parents in the cramped living room, the same room where she'd spent countless hours doing homework while her parents worked their double shifts to make ends meet. The house smelled of jasmine tea and the lingering aroma of her mother's cooking, scallion pancakes and beef noodle soup that had become the soundtrack of Maya's childhood. The walls were decorated with faded family photos, most of them featuring her parents, David and Linda Chin, in their younger days before the weight of immigrant life had carved permanent worry lines into their faces. Maya had come home from her job at the tech startup where she worked as a junior software developer, exhausted from another 12-hour day of coding and debugging. At 5 feet 4 inches with shoulder-length black hair that she always kept in a practical ponytail, Maya had inherited her mother's delicate features but her father's intensity in her dark brown eyes. She was the kind of person who blended into crowds, unremarkable in her appearance but brilliant in her mind. She had been excited to share some good news with her parents. After 2 years of working at the startup, she had finally been promoted to senior developer with a salary increase that would allow her to help them more with the household expenses. The promotion came with recognition from her CEO, who had specifically mentioned her innovative algorithms that had increased the company's efficiency by 30%. "Mom, Dad," Maya began, settling into the worn brown couch that had been in their living room for over a decade. "I have some really great news to share with you." Her parents sat across from her on matching armchairs that had seen better days. David Chin, 58 years old, worked as a maintenance supervisor at a downtown office building, his hands permanently stained from years of repair work. He had immigrated from Taiwan in his 30s with dreams of providing a better life for his family. Linda Chin, 55, worked as a seamstress in Chinatown, her fingers nimble from decades of detailed needlework, her back slightly hunched from years of bending over sewing machines. "What is it, Maya?" her mother asked, but there was something distant in her voice, something Maya couldn't quite identify. Usually, her mother's face would light up when Maya shared professional accomplishments, proud of her daughter's success in the competitive tech world of Silicon Valley. "I got promoted to senior developer," Maya announced, unable to contain the smile that spread across her face. "My salary increased by 40%, and my CEO said my work has been exceptional. I can finally start helping you both more with the house payments and maybe we can even think about taking that vacation we've always talked about." Instead of the celebration she expected, Maya watched her parents exchange a look she had seen countless times throughout her childhood, a look loaded with some kind of shared burden, some unspoken weight that seemed to settle between them whenever Maya achieved something significant. Her father cleared his throat, a sound that had always preceded difficult conversations. "Maya, your mother and I have been talking. We think it's time you knew something important about your place in this family." The words sent a chill down Maya's spine. She felt her stomach tighten with an inexplicable dread, the same feeling she used to get as a child when she sensed she was in trouble but didn't know why. "What do you mean, my place in this family?" Maya asked, her voice smaller than she intended. Her mother looked down at her hands, which were folded tightly in her lap. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Maya, you need to understand that when you were born, it wasn't planned. We weren't ready for another child." Maya felt the room grow cold around her. "What are you saying?" Her father leaned forward, his weathered hands gripping the arms of his chair. "What your mother is trying to say is that you were an accident, Maya. A mistake. We already had your older brother Kevin, and we thought we were done having children. When your mother found out she was pregnant with you, we considered other options." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She felt as if all the air had been sucked out of the room, as if the ground beneath her feet had simply disappeared. "Other options?" "We thought about abortion," her mother said bluntly, finally looking up to meet Maya's eyes. We couldn't afford another child. Your father was still establishing himself at work, we barely had enough money for Kevin's needs, and then suddenly there was going to be another mouth to feed, another child to worry about. Maya's mind reeled, trying to process what she was hearing. These were the same parents who had sat through her school presentations, who had driven her to coding camps, who had celebrated her graduation from UC Berkeley. And now they were telling her that her very existence had been a burden they had contemplated eliminating. But you didn't, Maya stammered, desperately searching for some redemption in this conversation. You chose to have me. That means something, right? Her father's expression grew even more serious. We chose to have you because your mother's sister convinced us it was the right thing to do. But Maya, you have to understand, every day since you were born has been a struggle. Every dollar we spent on you was a dollar we couldn't spend on Kevin. Every opportunity we gave you was an opportunity we had to take away from your brother. Maya felt tears beginning to form in her eyes, but she fought them back. She had always wondered why Kevin, her older brother by 5 years, seemed to receive different treatment. Kevin, who had struggled in school while Maya excelled. Kevin, who had dropped out of college while Maya graduated with honors. Kevin, who now worked part-time jobs while Maya had built a successful career in tech. I always worked hard to make you proud, Maya said, her voice breaking slightly. I got good grades, I stayed out of trouble, I got a good job. I thought you were proud of me. We are proud of your achievements, her mother said, but her tone remained cold. But Maya, you have to understand the burden you've been on this family. Do you know how many nights your father and I lay awake worrying about how to pay for your school supplies, your clothes, your food? Do you know how many opportunities Kevin missed because we had to split our attention and resources between 2 children instead of focusing on the one we had planned for? Maya felt something breaking inside her chest, a pain so sharp and deep that she wondered if this was what a heart attack felt like. All her life, she had tried to be the perfect daughter. She had excelled academically, stayed out of trouble, worked part-time jobs through high school and college to reduce the financial burden on her family. She had chosen a practical major, computer science, specifically because she knew it would lead to a good-paying job that would allow her to help her parents. I never asked to be born, Maya whispered, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. No, you didn't, her father replied with a brutal honesty that felt like a knife to her heart. But you were born, and we did our duty. We fed you, clothed you, gave you shelter and education. We fulfilled our obligations as parents. But Maya, you need to understand that every achievement you've made, every success you've had, has come at a cost to this family. Maya looked around the living room that had been her sanctuary throughout her childhood, and suddenly it felt like a prison. The family photos on the walls now seemed to mock her. She could see herself in many of them, but now she wondered if her parents had only included her out of obligation rather than love. Why are you telling me this now? Maya asked, her voice barely audible. Why today, when I came home to share good news with you? Her mother finally met her eyes again, and Maya saw something in them that chilled her to the bone, relief. Because we think it's time you understood your responsibility to this family. You're successful now, Maya. You have a good job, a good salary. It's time for you to start paying back what we invested in you. Paying back? Maya repeated, not understanding. Kevin is struggling, her father explained. He needs help getting back on his feet. We think it would be appropriate for you to support him financially until he can establish himself. After all, if we hadn't had you, all our resources would have gone to Kevin from the beginning. He would have had more opportunities, more support, more attention. Maya felt the room spinning around her. Not only were her parents telling her she had been an unwanted accident, but they were now demanding that she financially support the brother who had received the love and attention she had always craved. I need to think about this, Maya said, standing up on unsteady legs. There's nothing to think about, her mother said firmly. This is what families do. We take care of each other. You've taken from this family for 22 years. Now it's time to give back. Maya walked toward the stairs that led to her childhood bedroom, her mind reeling from the conversation. With each step, she felt pieces of her identity crumbling away. She had always believed she was loved, wanted, valued by her parents. Now she learned that her very existence had been a mistake, a burden, a source of resentment. In her room, surrounded by the remnants of her childhood, participation ribbons from school science fairs, coding certificates from summer camps, honor roll certificates from high school, Maya sat on her twin bed and finally allowed the tears to fall. Every achievement that had once filled her with pride now felt hollow. Had her parents ever been genuinely proud of her, or had they simply been relieved that their unwanted investment was finally paying dividends? She pulled out her laptop and stared at the blank screen, her mind racing. Her entire life had been built on the foundation of wanting to make her parents proud, wanting to prove that she was worthy of their love and investment. Now she learned that no amount of achievement would ever be enough, because in their eyes, she should never have existed in the first place. That night, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling of her childhood room, listening to the familiar sounds of the house settling around her. But nothing felt familiar anymore. The house that had been her home now felt like a place where she was merely tolerated, where her presence was endured rather than celebrated. For 22 years, Maya had believed she was building towards something, a future where she could make her parents proud, where her success would validate their sacrifices. Instead, she discovered that every success was viewed through the lens of what it could do for the family that had never wanted her in the first place. But as the fog rolled in thicker outside her bedroom window, obscuring the familiar San Francisco skyline, Maya felt something new beginning to crystallize in her mind. If she truly was unwanted, if her existence truly was a mistake, then she owed her parents nothing. She owed this family nothing. For the first time in her life, Maya began to think about what she wanted for herself, separate from the expectations and obligations that had defined her existence. She had spent 22 years trying to earn love that was never going to be freely given. Maybe it was time to stop trying to earn it and start building something for herself instead. The next morning, Maya woke with a clarity she had never experienced before. She dressed for work in her usual practical attire, dark jeans, a simple sweater, and comfortable shoes for the long commute to the South Bay. But something was different in how she carried herself as she walked down the stairs to the kitchen where her parents were having their morning coffee and reading Chinese-language newspapers. "Good morning," she said neutrally, not waiting for their response as she poured herself coffee and grabbed a piece of toast. "Maya," her father said, "your mother and I talked more last night. We think Kevin should move back in here, and you can help us support him while he looks for better work. It would be the right thing to do." Maya looked at her parents, these people who had shaped her entire worldview, who had been the center of her universe for 22 years. Yesterday, their opinion had been the most important thing in her life. Today, she felt nothing but a strange, cold clarity. "I'll think about it," she said, finishing her coffee and heading toward the door. As she walked to the bus stop that would take her to BART and then to her job in the South Bay, Maya felt something she had never experienced before, complete emotional independence from her family's approval. The revelation that she had been unwanted had paradoxically freed her from the desperate need to prove that she deserved to be wanted. On the train ride to work, surrounded by other commuters buried in their phones and laptops, Maya began to plan. If she truly was a mistake, then she would make sure she was the best mistake her parents had ever made. Not for them, but for herself. She would build something so extraordinary that the question of whether she had been wanted would become irrelevant. Maya Chen, the unwanted daughter, was about to disappear forever. In her place would emerge someone entirely new, someone who owed nothing to anyone, someone who would succeed not to earn love, but to prove that some mistakes turn out to be magnificent. The train pulled into her station, and Maya stepped onto the platform with the quiet confidence of someone who had finally stopped seeking permission to exist. She had work to do. Maya's office building in Palo Alto stood gleaming in the California sunshine, 37 floors of glass and steel housing some of the most innovative tech companies in the world. Data flow solutions occupied the entire 23rd floor, and as Maya stepped out of the elevator that Monday morning, she felt different than she ever had before. The conversation with her parents 3 days ago had acted like a controlled explosion in her mind, clearing away debris she hadn't even known was there. Her workspace was a standard tech company setup, an open floor plan with standing desks, multiple monitors, and the constant hum of innovation that characterized Silicon Valley. Maya had always been quietly competent, the kind of employee who delivered excellent work without drawing attention to herself. She arrived early, stayed late, and consistently exceeded expectations while others took credit or complained about workload. But today was different. Today, Maya looked around the office with new eyes, seeing opportunities instead of obligations. "Hey Maya," called out Jake Rodriguez, her team leader, a 30-something Stanford graduate who had joined the company 6 months after Maya but had already been promoted twice. "Great work on the efficiency algorithms. The CEO is really impressed. I mentioned to him that it was a team effort, but your individual contributions really stood out." Maya paused at her desk, setting down her coffee and laptop bag. 6 months ago, she would have smiled politely and said something about being happy to contribute to the team. Today, she felt a different response rising in her chest. "Actually, Jake, I need to clarify something," Maya said, her voice calm but firm. "The algorithms weren't a team effort. I designed and implemented them entirely on my own, working additional hours beyond my regular responsibilities. I appreciate you bringing them to the CEO's attention, but I want to make sure the credit is accurately attributed." Jake's face flushed slightly. He was used to Maya being self-effacing, happy to blend into the background while others took recognition for collaborative efforts. "Well, of course, Maya. I just meant that, we all work together here." "We do work together," Maya agreed, "but intellectual property should be credited to its actual creator. I'll make sure to be more proactive about documenting my individual contributions going forward." Maya settled into her workstation, opening her laptop and pulling up the code she had been working on for the past month. It was a machine learning algorithm designed to predict market trends with unprecedented accuracy, something that could revolutionize how the company's clients made investment decisions. She had been developing it quietly, working on it during lunch breaks and staying late to test different approaches. Originally, she had planned to present it to Jake as another team contribution, following the pattern she had established throughout her career. But her parents' revelation had shifted something fundamental in how she viewed her own value. If she truly owed nothing to anyone, then she also deserved full credit for her own work. Maya spent the morning refining her algorithm, running tests, and documenting her methodology with scientific precision. By noon, she had prepared a comprehensive presentation that demonstrated not just what the algorithm could do, but the specific innovative approaches she had used to achieve results that surpassed anything currently available in the market. Instead of going to lunch, Maya walked directly to the executive floor and knocked on the door of CEO Marcus Webb's office. Webb was a legendary figure in Silicon Valley, a former Google executive who had founded Dataflow 5 years earlier and turned it into a multi-billion-dollar company. At 45, he was known for his sharp intellect, his intolerance for mediocrity, and his ability to spot exceptional talent. "Maya Chen," Webb said, looking up from his computer screen with surprise. "I wasn't expecting you. Is everything all right?" Everything is fine, Mr. Webb, Maya replied, standing confidently in the doorway of his corner office with its panoramic view of the Bay Area. I wanted to share something with you directly. I've developed a predictive algorithm that I believe could significantly impact our clients' success rates. Webb gestured for her to sit down. Tell me more. For the next 30 minutes, Maya presented her work with a clarity and confidence that surprised even herself. She explained the mathematical foundations of her algorithm, demonstrated its accuracy compared to existing solutions, and outlined the potential applications across Dataflow's client base. Webb listened intently, asking technical questions that Maya answered with ease. This is impressive work, Maya, Webb said when she finished. Have you discussed this with Jake's team? No, sir, Maya replied. This is my independent project, developed on my own time using my own resources. I wanted to present it to you directly because I believe it represents a significant advancement that could benefit the company, and I want to ensure proper attribution of the intellectual property. Webb leaned back in his chair, studying Maya with new interest. You know, in 5 years of running this company, very few junior developers have walked into my office with work like this. Most people would have gone through their team leader, maybe tried to share credit to avoid making waves. I've spent my entire career sharing credit for my work, Maya said. I've decided that approach doesn't serve me or the company well. If we're going to innovate at the highest level, individual contributions need to be recognized and rewarded appropriately. I couldn't agree more, Webb said with a smile. Maya, I want to make you an offer. I'm creating a new position, Director of Algorithmic Innovation. It would report directly to me, with a team of 5 developers under your leadership. The salary would be $250,000 annually, plus equity options. Your first project would be implementing this predictive algorithm across our entire client portfolio. Maya felt her heart racing, but she kept her expression calm. That's a very generous offer, Mr. Webb. I'd like to accept. Excellent. I'll have HR draw up the paperwork today. You can start in your new role next Monday. As Maya walked back to her desk, she felt a transformation happening inside her that went beyond the professional recognition. For 22 years, she had sought external validation, particularly from her parents, as proof of her worth. Now, for the first time, she was generating that validation internally, through her own excellence and her own advocacy for herself. Jake was waiting at her desk when she returned. Where did you go? I've been looking for you. I had a meeting with Mr. Webb, Maya replied, beginning to pack up her personal items from her desk. A meeting? About what? Maya, you know we're supposed to go through proper channels for executive communications. Maya looked at Jake, this man who had taken credit for her work multiple times over the past 2 years, who had been promoted above her despite her superior technical skills, who represented everything about her old approach to career advancement that had kept her invisible and undervalued. Jake, I've been promoted to Director of Algorithmic Innovation, reporting directly to Mr. Webb. I'll be transitioning to the executive floor next week. Jake's mouth fell open. That's impossible. There was no posted position, no interview process. Maya, what's going on? What's going on, Maya said calmly, is that I finally decided to advocate for myself instead of waiting for others to recognize my value. It's a strategy I'd recommend. Maya spent the rest of the week transitioning her responsibilities and preparing for her new role. The news of her promotion spread quickly through the office, generating a mixture of congratulations and bewilderment from colleagues who had grown accustomed to seeing her as a reliable but unremarkable team member. On Friday evening, Maya drove home to San Francisco with her first director-level paycheck and a company car, benefits that came with her new position. As she navigated the familiar traffic patterns of the Bay Area, she thought about how much had changed in just 1 week. 7 days ago, she had been desperate for her parents' approval, willing to sacrifice her own financial security to support the brother who had received the love she had always craved. Today, she earned more than both her parents combined, had a team of developers reporting to her, and held a position that could launch her toward even greater success in Silicon Valley's competitive hierarchy. When she walked into the house on 38th Avenue, her parents were in the living room watching Chinese television dramas, the same evening routine they had maintained for as long as Maya could remember. Kevin was there too, sprawled on the couch with his laptop, unemployed for the third time in 2 years and apparently making no effort to change his situation. "Maya," her mother said without looking away from the television, "we need to discuss Kevin's situation. He needs help with rent for an apartment, and we think it would be appropriate for you to provide that support." Maya set down her purse and looked at her family, these people who had shaped her worldview for 22 years, who had been the center of her universe until 1 week ago when they explained that her existence had been a mistake they had reluctantly tolerated. "I have some news to share," Maya said, sitting down in the same spot where her world had been shattered 7 days earlier. "I've been promoted to Director of Algorithmic Innovation at my company. My salary is now $250,000 annually, plus equity options." Kevin looked up from his laptop for the first time since she had entered the room. Her parents turned away from the television, suddenly paying attention with an intensity Maya hadn't seen since childhood. "250,000, her father repeated. That's more than your mother and I make together." "It is," Maya confirmed. "It's also recognition for the innovative algorithms I've been developing, work that could revolutionize how investment decisions are made in the tech industry." "That's wonderful, Maya," her mother said, and for the first time in a week, her voice carried warmth. "This means you'll be able to help Kevin much more than we originally discussed. Maybe you could even help him start his own business, or pay for him to go back to school." Maya studied her parents' faces, seeing the calculation behind their sudden enthusiasm for her success. 1 week ago, they had told her that her achievements came at the cost of her brother's opportunities. Now, they saw those same achievements as a resource to be redirected toward the son they had actually planned for. "I've been thinking about what you told me last week," Maya said slowly. "About how I was an accident, a mistake, a burden on this family. About how every dollar you spent on me was a dollar that should have gone to Kevin." "Maya," her father said carefully, "you have to understand the context of that conversation. We were trying to help you understand your family responsibilities now that you're successful." "I do understand," Maya replied. "I understand perfectly. You invested in me reluctantly, and now you expect a return on that investment to benefit the child you actually wanted." Her mother's expression grew concerned. "Maya, you're our daughter. We love you. But Kevin needs help, and you're in a position to provide it." Maya stood up, looking down at her family with a clarity that felt almost supernatural. "You're right that Kevin needs help. You're right that I'm in a position to provide assistance. But you're wrong about one fundamental thing." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle in the room. "I don't owe this family anything. You told me yourself that I was a mistake. Well, mistakes don't create obligations. If I was truly unwanted, then the debt you think I owe for being raised doesn't exist. You don't get to reject someone and then demand they be grateful for the rejection." "Maya, that's not." Her father began. "I'm moving out," Maya continued. "I'm going to buy my own place, build my own life, and create my own success without the burden of constantly trying to earn love from people who told me I should never have existed in the first place." Kevin finally spoke up. "Maya, come on. Family is family. We all need to support each other." Maya turned to look at her brother, this person who had received all the love, attention, and support she had craved throughout her childhood, who had squandered multiple opportunities while she fought for every recognition. Kevin, you're 27 years old. You've had 5 years of adult life to figure out how to support yourself. I'm 22 and I just became a director at a Fortune 500 company. The difference between us isn't opportunity or family support. It's personal responsibility and work ethic. Maya walked toward the stairs, but paused at the bottom step. I'll be moved out by the end of the month. I won't be contributing to Kevin's support, to household expenses, or to any family financial needs. I was an accident, remember? Accidents don't have family obligations. In her room that night, Maya researched luxury apartments in San Francisco's most prestigious neighborhoods. She looked at penthouses with bay views, places that would cost more per month than her parents' mortgage. She could afford them now, and more importantly, she could afford the independence they represented. Over the next 3 weeks, Maya threw herself into her new role with an intensity that impressed even Marcus Webb. She hired her team of 5 developers, established development protocols that increased productivity by 40%, and began implementing her predictive algorithm across Dataflow's entire client portfolio. The results were immediate and extraordinary. Client success rates improved by 60% within the first month. Revenue projections for the quarter increased by 30%. Maya's algorithm became the foundation for a new suite of services that positioned Dataflow as the most innovative company in their market sector. Maya, Webb said during their weekly one-on-one meeting, I've been in this industry for 20 years, and I've never seen someone transition to executive leadership with such immediate impact. Your algorithm is generating more client interest than anything we've developed in our 5-year history. Thank you, Mr. Webb, Maya replied. I think I'm finally working at the level that matches my capabilities. I have a proposal for you, Webb continued. I'm recommending you for our executive development program. It's a 2-year track that typically leads to VP-level positions. The program includes additional equity options, executive coaching, and preparation for C-suite responsibilities. Maya felt a thrill of excitement that had nothing to do with external validation. She wasn't seeking approval or trying to prove her worth to anyone. She was simply excellent at what she did, and excellence was being recognized and rewarded. I'm very interested, Maya said. There's one more thing, Webb added. TechCrunch wants to do a feature story about your algorithm and its impact on the industry. They're calling it, the innovation that's revolutionizing predictive analytics. It would be significant exposure for both you and the company. Maya thought about the scared, approval-seeking young woman who had sat in her parents' living room just 4 weeks ago, desperate for recognition from people who viewed her existence as a mistake. That person felt like a stranger now. I'd be happy to do the interview, Maya said. On the day Maya moved into her new apartment, a stunning 2-bedroom penthouse in Pacific Heights with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, she received a text from her mother. Maya, we need to talk. Kevin's situation is getting worse. Please call us. Maya set her phone aside without responding and continued unpacking her belongings into her new home. The apartment cost $8,000 per month, more than her parents made together, and represented a lifestyle that was completely separate from the world she had grown up in. That evening, as she sat on her new couch watching the sunset paint the Golden Gate Bridge in shades of gold and crimson, Maya felt something she had never experienced before, complete self-sufficiency. She owed nothing to anyone. She had built this life through her own intelligence, her own work ethic, and her own advocacy for herself. Her phone buzzed with another text from her mother. Maya, please don't abandon your family. We raised you and supported you. You owe us something. Maya looked at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Tomorrow, she would continue building something extraordinary. Tonight, she would simply enjoy the view from the life she had created for herself, a life that belonged entirely to her. The unwanted daughter had become someone entirely new, a woman who knew her own worth and demanded that the world recognize it. And this was only the beginning. 6 months into her role as Director of Algorithmic Innovation, Maya Chen had become a phenomenon in Silicon Valley. Her predictive algorithm had not only revolutionized Dataflow's client services but had caught the attention of venture capitalists, tech journalists, and competitors throughout the industry. The TechCrunch feature story had generated over 2 million views and positioned Maya as one of the most promising young innovators in the Bay Area. But Maya was just getting started. On a crisp Tuesday morning in October, Maya sat in her corner office on the 37th floor, reviewing proposals for Dataflow's next major expansion. Through her floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the entire South Bay stretching out below her, from the Google campus to the Apple headquarters, a landscape of innovation where she was rapidly establishing herself as a significant player. Her office reflected her new status, a standing desk with 3 curved monitors displaying complex algorithmic models, a comfortable seating area for meetings, and walls decorated with patents she had filed and awards she had received in just 6 months. The most prominent display was a framed copy of the TechCrunch article titled, "The 23-Year-Old Algorithm Genius Who's Revolutionizing Predictive Analytics." Maya's assistant, Jennifer, knocked and entered with Maya's morning schedule and a stack of interview requests from major publications. "Good morning, Maya. You have the board presentation at 10, lunch with the Andreessen Horowitz partners at noon, and the MIT guest lecture via video conference at 3. "Thank you, Jennifer," Maya replied, not looking up from the complex mathematical models on her screens. "Any word from the Stanford Research Institute about their collaboration proposal?" "They called this morning. Dr. Patterson said they're very interested in partnering with you on the machine learning initiative. They're offering joint research opportunities and access to their quantum computing laboratory." Maya smiled. 6 months ago, she had been a junior developer sharing credit for her work. Now, prestigious research institutions were competing for her collaboration. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus Webb. "Maya, need to see you in my office ASAP. Bring your latest projections on the international expansion algorithm." Maya gathered her materials and walked to Webb's office, where she found him pacing behind his desk with an unusual energy. Webb was typically calm and measured, but today he seemed barely contained excitement. "Maya, sit down," he said, his voice tight with anticipation. "I just got off a call with the board of directors that's going to change everything for this company. And for you." Maya settled into the chair across from his desk, her mind already racing through possibilities. "What's happening?" "3 things, Webb said, holding up his fingers as he counted. "First, your algorithm has generated so much client interest that we're accelerating our international expansion by 2 years. Second, Goldman Sachs has approached us about licensing your technology for their entire global investment portfolio. Third, and most importantly, the board has approved the creation of a new subsidiary company focused entirely on predictive analytics, with you as Chief Technology Officer." Maya felt her heart rate increase, but kept her expression professional. "That's significant. Maya, this isn't just a promotion. This is the board recognizing that your innovations are valuable enough to build an entire company around. The subsidiary would have its own funding, its own offices, its own equity structure. You'd be responsible for hiring a team of 50 developers and data scientists. Your starting salary would be $400,000 annually, plus a significant equity stake in the new company." Maya processed the information with the same analytical precision she applied to her algorithms. At 23 years old, she would be the youngest CTO in Silicon Valley history. The equity stake alone could make her a millionaire within 2 years if the subsidiary performed as projected. "There's one more thing," Webb continued. "The board wants you to present your vision for the subsidiary directly to them next week. This would be the full board of directors, including some of the most influential investors in the tech industry. If they approve your presentation, we move forward immediately. Maya stood up, extending her hand to Webb. I accept the opportunity. When do I present? Next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Maya, this is extraordinary. In 6 months, you've gone from junior developer to CTO of a major tech subsidiary. I've never seen anyone advance this quickly in Silicon Valley. As Maya walked back to her office, she reflected on the conversation she had had with her parents 7 months ago. They had told her she was a mistake, an unwanted burden, a drain on family resources. Today, she was being offered a position that would make her one of the most powerful technology executives in the world. That evening, Maya returned to her Pacific Heights penthouse and poured herself a glass of wine as she watched the city lights sparkle below. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from her family. Her parents and Kevin had been trying to reach her with increasing frequency as her success became more public. The most recent voicemail was from her mother. Maya, we saw the article about you in the San Francisco Chronicle. We're so proud of you, but we're also worried that success is changing you. Kevin really needs help, and we think as a family, we should all support each other. Please call us back. Maya deleted the voicemail without listening to the previous 16 messages. She had learned that her family's sudden interest in her success was directly proportional to her earning potential. When she was making $60,000 as a junior developer, she was expected to sacrifice for Kevin. Now that she was making $400,000 as a CTO, the expectation had expanded accordingly. Maya spent the next week preparing for her board presentation with an intensity that bordered on obsession. She created detailed financial projections, technology roadmaps, and market analysis that demonstrated not just what her subsidiary could accomplish, but how it could dominate the entire predictive analytics industry within 3 years. She worked 18-hour days, collaborated with external consultants, and refined her presentation until every slide was perfect. This wasn't just about getting approval for the subsidiary. This was about establishing herself as one of the most significant technology leaders of her generation. On Tuesday afternoon, Maya walked into the Dataflow boardroom wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that had cost more than her parents' monthly mortgage payment. The boardroom was intimidating, a massive glass table surrounded by 20 leather chairs, with floor-to-ceiling windows providing a panoramic view of Silicon Valley. The board members were equally intimidating, venture capitalists who had funded some of the most successful companies in tech history, former CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and academic researchers whose work had shaped the entire industry. Maya was the youngest person in the room by at least 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Webb announced, I'd like you to meet Maya Chen, the algorithmic genius behind Dataflow's revolutionary predictive technology and the proposed CTO of our new subsidiary, Analytica Future. Maya stood at the head of the table, connected her laptop to the room's presentation system, and began speaking with a confidence that surprised even herself. 6 months ago, I developed an algorithm that has increased client success rates by 60% and generated over $50 million in new revenue for Dataflow. Today, I'm going to show you how we can build a billion-dollar company around that innovation. For the next 45 minutes, Maya presented her vision with mathematical precision and strategic brilliance. She demonstrated how her algorithms could be applied across multiple industries, projected revenue growth that would outpace any existing competitor, and outlined a technology roadmap that would keep Analytica Future years ahead of market trends. When she finished, the boardroom was completely silent for several seconds. Dr. Sarah Kim, a venture capitalist who had funded Google's early expansion, was the first to speak. Maya, in 30 years of technology investing, I've rarely seen such a comprehensive vision presented with such clarity. Your projections are ambitious but realistic, your technology roadmap is innovative, and your market analysis is flawless. Robert Chen, no relation, former CEO of Oracle, leaned forward in his chair. Maya, I have one question. You're 23 years old. You've been in executive leadership for 6 months. How do we know you can scale this vision to manage a 50-person team and a $100 million budget? Maya had anticipated this question. Mr. Chen, age and experience are important factors, but they're not the most important factors. What matters is results. In 6 months, I've generated more innovation and revenue than most executives achieve in years. I've proven I can execute on complex visions and deliver exceptional outcomes. The question isn't whether I'm experienced enough to lead this subsidiary. The question is whether this board is visionary enough to back someone who's redefining what's possible in predictive analytics. The room erupted in impressed murmurs. Maya had not only answered the question but had challenged the board to recognize the historic opportunity they were considering. The vote was unanimous. Analytica Future was approved with Maya as CTO, a $100 million initial budget, and the freedom to build her team from the ground up. As Maya left the boardroom, her phone was already buzzing with congratulations from industry contacts who had heard about the subsidiary approval. The news would be public within hours, and by tomorrow, she would be receiving job offers from every major tech company in the world. But Maya wasn't interested in job offers. She was interested in building something unprecedented, something that would establish her as one of the most significant technology innovators of her generation. That evening, Maya celebrated alone in her penthouse, looking out at the city that had become her kingdom. At 23 years old, she was the youngest CTO in Silicon Valley history, the leader of a $100 million subsidiary, and the holder of multiple patents that could reshape entire industries. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. Maya, we saw the news about your new company. We're very proud, but we're also concerned that you've forgotten your family. Kevin is struggling more than ever, and as his sister, you have responsibilities to help him. We think you should consider giving him a job at your new company. Maya read the message twice, then set her phone aside. Her family's pattern was predictable. The more successful she became, the more they expected her to subsidize Kevin's failures. They had told her she was unwanted and then demanded she be grateful for being tolerated. Now they wanted her to reward mediocrity because of family obligations. Maya poured herself another glass of wine and returned to her laptop, where she was already planning the structure of Analytica Future. She would hire the best developers in the world, offer equity packages that would attract top talent, and create a company culture based on excellence rather than nepotism. Over the next month, Maya threw herself into building Analytica Future with the same obsessive attention to detail she had applied to her original algorithm. She interviewed over 200 candidates for 50 positions, eventually assembling a team that included former executives from Google, Apple, and Microsoft, as well as brilliant young developers from Stanford, MIT, and Carnegie Mellon. The company's offices occupied an entire floor of a glass tower in downtown San Francisco, with state-of-the-art equipment, collaborative workspaces, and amenities that attracted the best talent in the industry. Maya's corner office had become a pilgrimage site for young developers who wanted to understand how someone could achieve such extraordinary success so quickly. 3 months after Analytica Future's launch, Maya received a call that would cement her status as one of the most important innovators in tech history. Maya Chen, the voice on the phone said. This is Dr. James Morrison from the Nobel Committee's Economics Division. We'd like to discuss your algorithmic work and its implications for global financial markets. Maya felt her breath catch. The Nobel Committee didn't make casual phone calls. Dr. Morrison, I'm honored to hear from you. How can I help? Maya, your predictive algorithms have caught the attention of economists worldwide. The applications for market stability, poverty reduction, and resource allocation could have profound implications for global economic policy. We'd like to invite you to present your work at our annual symposium in Stockholm. Maya accepted immediately. At 23 years old, she would be the youngest presenter in the Nobel Economics Symposium's history. The news of Maya's Nobel invitation spread throughout Silicon Valley within hours. Suddenly, she wasn't just a successful tech executive, she was an innovator whose work could impact global economic policy. That evening, Maya's phone rang with a call from her mother. For the first time in months, Maya decided to answer. "Maya, we've been so worried about you," her mother said immediately. "We keep seeing you in the news, but you never call us back. We're your family. We love you and we want to be part of your success." Maya looked out at the San Francisco skyline from her penthouse, the city lights reflecting her rise from unwanted daughter to global innovator. "Mom," Maya said calmly, 7 months ago, you told me I was a mistake, an accident, a burden on this family. You said every dollar spent on me was a dollar that should have gone to Kevin. You made it clear that my existence was unwanted and my achievements came at the cost of the son you actually planned for. Maya, we were just trying to help you understand your family responsibilities." "I understood perfectly," Maya interrupted. "And based on that understanding, I built a life completely independent of family expectations or obligations. I'm successful because I stopped seeking your approval and started demanding that the world recognize my value. But Maya, we're proud of you. We always believed in you." Maya laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "Mom, you believed I was a mistake until I became financially successful enough to subsidize Kevin's failures. Your pride in me is directly proportional to my earning potential. That's not fair, Maya. We raised you, we supported you, we gave you opportunities. You fulfilled your legal obligations to a child you didn't want," Maya said. "That doesn't create lifelong debt or ongoing responsibility on my part. I owe you nothing." Maya hung up and blocked her family's phone numbers. She had a Nobel symposium to prepare for, a company to build, and a future to create that belonged entirely to her. The unwanted daughter had become someone who no longer needed to be wanted by anyone except herself. And that transformation was just the beginning of something extraordinary. Stockholm in December was a winter wonderland of snow-covered cobblestones and golden light reflecting off centuries-old architecture. Maya Chin stepped out of her hotel, the Grand Hotel Stockholm, where Nobel laureates had stayed for over a century, into the crisp Swedish air, carrying herself with the confidence of someone who had completely transcended her origins. At 24 years old, Maya was about to become the youngest person ever to present at the Nobel Economics Symposium. Her algorithmic innovations had not only revolutionized predictive analytics but had begun influencing global economic policy. The invitation to Stockholm was recognition that her work had implications far beyond Silicon Valley's profit margins. Maya's presentation was titled Algorithmic Economics: How Predictive Technology Can Eliminate Global Poverty. Over the past year, she had expanded her original algorithm to address resource allocation, market stability, and economic inequality on a scale that could impact billions of lives. Analytica Future had grown into a company valued at over $2 billion, with offices in 12 countries and partnerships with major governments worldwide. Maya's personal net worth had reached $50 million, making her one of the wealthiest women under 30 in the United States. But more importantly, she had achieved something that transcended financial success. She had become globally recognized as one of the most significant innovators of her generation. The Nobel Symposium was held in the Stockholm Concert Hall, the same venue where Nobel Prizes were awarded each year. As Maya walked into the magnificent auditorium with its blue and gold interior and perfect acoustics, she felt the weight of history surrounding her. This was where the world's greatest minds came to share discoveries that shaped human civilization. Maya's presentation was scheduled for the final day of the symposium, the culminating event that would be broadcast to economics departments at universities worldwide. The audience included Nobel laureates, government ministers, central bank governors, and academic researchers whose work influenced global policy. As she prepared backstage, Maya received a text message that made her pause. It was from her brother Kevin. Maya, I saw that you're at the Nobel thing in Sweden. Mom and Dad are watching the live stream. They're telling everyone in the neighborhood that you're their daughter. Just thought you should know. Maya stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it. Her family's sudden pride in her achievements felt as hollow as their original rejection. She had learned that seeking their approval was like chasing a mirage. The closer she got to what she thought would satisfy them, the further the goal moved away. Dr. Chen? A young woman with a clipboard approached her backstage. We're ready for your presentation. Maya walked onto the stage to thunderous applause from an audience of 800 of the world's most distinguished economists. The stage was simple but elegant, a podium, a large screen for her presentation, and lighting that had illuminated Nobel laureates for decades. Distinguished colleagues, Maya began, her voice carrying clearly through the concert hall's perfect acoustics. I stand before you today not as someone seeking academic recognition, but as someone who has discovered that the most powerful force for global change is the combination of mathematical precision and human compassion. For the next 45 minutes, Maya presented research that had taken her team at Analytica Future over a year to develop. She demonstrated how predictive algorithms could identify economic inefficiencies that trapped populations in poverty, how machine learning could optimize resource distribution to eliminate hunger, and how artificial intelligence could predict and prevent market crashes that devastated developing economies. But Maya's presentation went beyond technical innovation. She spoke about her personal journey from rejection to recognition, about how being told she was unwanted had freed her to create value that didn't depend on anyone else's approval. Economic systems fail, Maya said, looking directly into the cameras that were broadcasting her words to universities worldwide, when they're built on scarcity thinking, the belief that someone else's success requires our failure, that resources are limited, that some people matter more than others. My algorithms work because they're built on abundance thinking, the recognition that human potential is infinite when properly supported and developed. Maya clicked to her final slide, which showed projected outcomes if her algorithms were implemented globally. Within 10 years, we could eliminate extreme poverty worldwide. Within 15 years, we could achieve resource allocation efficiency that would end hunger permanently. Within 20 years, we could create economic stability that would prevent the market crashes that devastate billions of lives. The audience was completely silent, absorbing the magnitude of what Maya was proposing. But this isn't just about economics, Maya continued. This is about recognizing that every human being has inherent value that shouldn't depend on external validation. Every child who is told they're unwanted, every person who is told they don't matter, every individual who is written off by their own family, they all have the potential to contribute something extraordinary to human civilization. Maya paused, letting her words resonate throughout the concert hall. I was told I was a mistake, an accident, a burden that my family reluctantly tolerated. Today, I stand before the world's most distinguished economists presenting work that could eliminate global poverty. The difference between those two realities isn't luck or privilege. It's the decision to stop seeking validation from others and start creating value for the world. The applause that followed was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. 800 of the world's most accomplished economists rose to their feet in a standing ovation that lasted over 5 minutes. Nobel laureates who had spent decades in academia were applauding a 24-year-old who had revolutionized their entire field in just 18 months. After her presentation, Maya was surrounded by government officials, academic researchers, and international development organizations wanting to implement her algorithms. The World Bank offered her a consulting contract worth $50 million. The United Nations invited her to address the General Assembly. The European Union requested her advice on economic policy reform. But the moment that would define Maya's transformation came 3 days later, when she returned to San Francisco and found her family waiting in her penthouse lobby. Maya hadn't spoken to her parents or Kevin in over 6 months, not since she had blocked their phone numbers and refused their attempts to claim credit for her success. Now, seeing them in the marble lobby of her luxury building, Maya felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, no longing for reconciliation. Just a calm recognition that these people belonged to a part of her life that no longer existed. Maya, her mother called out as Maya approached the elevator. "We've been so worried about you. We saw your speech in Stockholm. We're so proud." Maya stopped, studying the three people who had shaped her first 22 years. Her parents looked older, more worn down by financial stress and the realization that they had rejected someone who became extraordinary. Kevin looked unchanged, still unemployed, still expecting others to solve his problems, still bewildered by the success of the sister he had taken for granted. "What do you want?" Maya asked neutrally. "We want to congratulate you," her father said, his voice carrying a desperation Maya had never heard before. "What you've accomplished is incredible. We always knew you were special." "No, you didn't," Maya replied calmly. "You told me I was an accident, a mistake, a burden on the family. You said every dollar spent on me was a dollar that should have gone to Kevin. You made it clear that I was unwanted and that my existence had been reluctantly tolerated." "Maya, we were wrong," her mother said, tears forming in her eyes. "We were scared, we were struggling financially, we didn't understand what you were capable of. We're sorry." Maya looked at her mother, this woman who had raised her but had never truly seen her potential until it became impossible to ignore. "I accept your apology," Maya said. "But I don't forgive you." The words hung in the air between them, final and irreversible. "Maya, we're family," Kevin said, speaking for the first time. "Families forgive each other. Families support each other." Maya turned to look at her brother, this person who had received all the love and support she had craved, who had squandered opportunities while she fought for recognition. "Kevin, family is supposed to support each other from the beginning, not just when it becomes financially advantageous. You received 27 years of unconditional love and support, and you're unemployed for the fourth time. I received 22 years of conditional tolerance, and I'm changing global economic policy. The difference between us isn't family support, it's personal responsibility." Maya stepped into the elevator, then turned back to face her family one final time. "I was unwanted, and that unwantedness freed me to become someone extraordinary. I don't need your approval, your love, or your recognition. I have something better, I have the respect of the entire world." As the elevator doors closed, Maya saw her parents' faces crumple with the realization that they had lost her forever. Not through death or distance, but through their own choices, their own failure to recognize value when it was growing up in their own home. Maya rode the elevator to her penthouse, walked to her floor-to-ceiling windows, and looked out at the city that had become her kingdom. Her phone was buzzing with congratulations from world leaders, interview requests from major publications, and collaboration offers from institutions worldwide. At 24 years old, Maya Chen had achieved something that transcended personal success. She had become proof that human potential is limitless when it's not constrained by others' limited expectations. She had transformed from an unwanted daughter into someone whose work could reshape global civilization. 2 weeks later, Maya received a call that would complete her transformation from rejected child to global icon. "Dr. Chen," the voice said, "this is Professor Eric Lundberg from the Nobel Committee. We've been following your work with great interest, and we'd like to discuss nominating you for the Nobel Prize in Economics." Maya felt a moment of pure, perfect clarity. At 24 years old, she would become the youngest Nobel laureate in history. "Professor Lundberg," Maya replied, "would be honored to be considered." The announcement of Maya's Nobel nomination made international headlines. At 24, she became the youngest person ever nominated for the Nobel Prize in Economics, recognized for algorithmic innovations that could eliminate global poverty. The day the nomination was announced, Maya received thousands of messages from around the world, from young women who saw her as proof that excellence transcends expectation, from economists who recognized her revolutionary contributions, from world leaders who wanted to implement her solutions. She also received a single text message from her mother: "Maya, we saw the news about the Nobel Prize. We're so proud of you. Please come home." Maya read the message, then deleted it without responding. She was home, not in the house where she had been unwanted, but in the life she had built through her own brilliance, her own determination, and her own refusal to accept others' limitations as her own. 6 months later, Maya Chen walked onto the stage in Stockholm to accept the Nobel Prize in Economics, becoming the youngest laureate in the award's history. As she held the gold medal and diploma, Maya thought about the conversation that had started her transformation, the moment her parents told her she was unwanted. In her acceptance speech, broadcast to billions of people worldwide, Maya spoke directly to every child who had ever been told they didn't matter. "This award isn't just recognition for algorithmic innovation," she said, her voice carrying across the concert hall where she had presented just 1 year earlier. "This is proof that human potential is limitless when we stop seeking others' approval and start creating our own value. To every child who has been told they're unwanted, to every person who has been told they don't matter, your worth isn't determined by others' ability to recognize it. Your value is inherent, infinite, and entirely your own to develop." Maya paused, looking directly into the cameras that were broadcasting to the world. "I was told I was a mistake. Today, I stand before you as proof that the greatest achievements often come from the people others never expected to succeed. We don't need to be wanted by others to create something meaningful. We just need to want it for ourselves." The applause that followed was thunderous, a recognition not just of Maya's achievements but of the universal truth she represented, that human potential transcends expectation, that excellence emerges from unexpected places, and that the people others reject often become the ones who change the world. As Maya left the stage with her Nobel Prize, she received a final text from her family: "Maya, we're watching on TV. We're so proud. We love you. Please come home." Maya read the message, then powered off her phone. She wasn't going home because she was already there, in a life she had built entirely for herself, surrounded by people who recognized her value, creating work that would benefit humanity for generations. The unwanted daughter had become someone the entire world wanted to claim. But Maya Chen belonged only to herself, and that was exactly how she preferred it. At 24 years old, Maya had achieved the ultimate victory over rejection. She had become so extraordinary that being unwanted by her family felt like the greatest gift they had ever given her. Their failure to recognize her value had forced her to recognize it herself, and that self-recognition had changed the world. Maya Chen, the accidental child who became a deliberate force for global change, had written the final chapter of her transformation. She was no longer unwanted, she was unstoppable. And this was only the beginning of what she would accomplish with a lifetime ahead of her, unlimited by others' expectations and unconstrained by the need for anyone's approval except her own. The mistake had become a masterpiece, and the masterpiece belonged entirely to its creator.